Hi, I'm Steph and I'm one of the dietitians here at BJC Health, and today I'm going to be sharing 3 tips on how you can reduce your sugar intake across the day. Now, I think it's really important to make clear what we mean by reducing your sugar intake, because I don't think that you need to cut out sugar completely, but there is a big difference between the sugar that's added to products in excess and the sugar that's naturally found in foods like fruits or dairy. Now, the thing that we want to try and reduce our intake of is those added sugars, and when we consume too many of those types of sugars, it can contribute to things like weight gain, diseases like type 2 diabetes, or the symptoms associated with inflammatory disease like arthritis. So my first tip to starting to reduce your sugar intake across the day is to take a look at the fluids that you're consuming. So a lot of you might start your day with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, but if you're having things like a caramel latte or a mocha, or adding a couple of teaspoons to your tea or coffee, you're already starting off your day with a couple of teaspoons of added sugar. So some better choices that you could be making are things like a cappuccino or a latte, or a black tea with a dash of milk instead of some sugar. But often people will find it really difficult to go from having sugar in their drink to no sugar at all. So I'll always encourage my clients to reduce their sugar intake in a stepwise approach. So maybe starting off by going from 2 teaspoons to 1 teaspoon, and then half a teaspoon, and then trialing a few days with no sugar at all. The second thing is to look at the other sorts of drinks that you're having throughout the day. So things like soft drink or cordial or juice. And you might be surprised to know that a 600ml bottle of Coca-Cola actually has about 12 teaspoons of added sugar. So there are some diet alternatives that you can be having, so things like Diet Coke or Pepsi Max, but often these are made with more chemical-based artificial sweeteners. And while it's fine to be having them in small amounts every so often, there are some people who can be quite sensitive to these types of sweeteners, and it can actually cause some digestive upset. So stevia is probably the best out of all of your low-calorie sweeteners, because it is made from a plant, so it is more natural. But often things like soft drinks and cordials won't use stevia because it is a bit more expensive to incorporate into a product. So if you are going for those diet options, having them once in a while is okay. But otherwise, it's good to have a look at things like mineral waters infused with a dash of flavor, and Mount Franklin has some good ones out at the moment, or even getting some infusion bags that you can pop into a bottle of cold water, and it will flavor your water bottle with things like mango or peach or strawberry, so that can add something a bit more interesting into your day. My second tip is to have a look at the type of yogurt that you're eating. So this is often a staple food for breakfast or as a snack, but different types of yogurt can actually have a really high amount of added sugar. So naturally, yogurt is going to contain a little bit of sugar because the milk will contain some lactose. But as I mentioned earlier, this is different to the added sugar that we're trying to avoid. So generally what I do when I look at a yogurt is I look at the nutrition label and I look at the per 100 gram column, and the natural lactose should only contribute to about 3 to 5 grams of sugar per 100 grams. So if the sugar content is higher than 5 grams of sugar per 100 grams, it means that the product has quite a bit of added sugar or fruit puree. And often it's hard to differentiate between how much of that added sugar is fruit and how much of that added sugar is sugar. So The best option is to always stick to a natural yogurt that doesn't have any added sugar, and then add some fruit to flavor it yourself. Otherwise, if you prefer a flavored option, the Chobani Fit or the YoPro yogurts are two high protein but low sugar alternatives that are really tasty and can form part of your breakfast or snack staple foods. So my third tip is to start reading the ingredient label because often companies won't just label sugar as sugar, but they can use a lot of alternative names. So this might be something like sucrose, glucose, dextrose, honey, maple syrup, date syrup, and all of these are still sugar, and gram for gram they're going to provide the same amount of sugar, but it's really important to be able to differentiate whether the sugar content is added or naturally contained within the product. And so it's those added sugars that we are trying to reduce our intake of, and being able to read that ingredients list will help you achieve that goal. So there are my 3 tips to start reducing your sugar intake, and if you would like to get a bit more creative in the kitchen with some low sugar baking recipes, be sure to check out the BJC website for plenty of recipe ideas, and look forward to seeing you in the next video.